Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyet Shravtam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanaha Hridayantastohya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Surhasatam Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. So today we will be covering Srimad Bhagavatam 7th Canto, Chapter 13th. The behavior of a perfect person. Last week we covered the 4 spiritual classes. Srimad Bhagavatam 7th Canto, Chapter 12. And Chapter 11 was the 4 social classes. So, again, that's Varnashram Dharma. So till this particular point, Devashi Narad was explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj the Varnashram Dharma, the basis, foundation of 4 social classes, which are basically the different Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. And then in chapter 12, Srimad Bhagavatam 7th Canto, he covers the ashramas. And we also covered the basic definition of an ashram. What is an ashram? Any place where you can develop and advance in Krishna consciousness. And in this chapter, he goes further describing the behavior of a perfect person. And here we will hear, the behavior of folks who are in sannyas ashram, also referred to as sannyasis or sannyasinis. And how a Paramhamsa behaves. And again, Prahlad Maharaj's glories are again discussed here as he is having a conversation with Avduta Brahman. So it's conversation within conversation, where we will hear directly from Avduta Brahman as what is the behavior of a Paramahamsa, a sannyasi, and this narration is given to Yudhishthira Maharaj by Devashi Narad, and later on this is further recited by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, and which is later further recited by Sutta Goswami at Naimisharanya to the sages. And the spokesperson of those sages is Shaunaka Rishi. Hare Krishna. So we'll cover the very first verse. Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 13, verse 1. Shri Narad Uvacha Kalpastha evam parivrajya Deha matravasheshitaha Grame karatra vidhina Nirapekshascharena mahim. Shri Narada Uvacha. Shri Narad Muni said, Kalpaha, a person who is competent to undergo the austerities of sannyas, the renounced order of life, or to prosecute studies in transcendental knowledge. 2. But, evam, in this way, as described previously, parivrajya, fully understanding his spiritual identity, and thus traveling from one place to another, deha matra, keeping only the body, avasheshitaha, at last, grama, in a village, eka, one only, Ratra, of passing a night, Vidhina, in the process, Nirapekshaha, without dependence on any material thing, Karet, should move from one place to another, Mahim, on the earth. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shri Narad Muni said, a person able to cultivate spiritual knowledge should renounce all material connections and merely keeping the body inhabitable. He should travel from one place to another, passing only one night in each village. In this way, without dependence in regard to the needs of the body, the sannyasi should travel all over the world. There is no purport to this verse. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatadham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today, the focus is on sannyasa ashram. So along with describing the 4 spiritual classes in chapter 12, we also covered, the behavior of a brahmachari, one who is in a brahmacharya ashram, student life, which is the early age, 1/4 of the beginning of the very life. And then also some part of it was towards vanaprastha and grahastha. And of course in chapter 14, we'll be discussing more about the grahastha ashram. How to live an ideal family life. So in this particular chapter, the focus is on sannyasa ashram. And Devashi Narad, he's describing and he's using the word Paramhamsa. So again, when Paramhamsas are discussed, it is said that, in Satyuga, Krita Yuga, everyone was actually born as a Hamsa. And then Paramhamsa is further higher elevated state, where one is at a prime stage of being a Hamsa. So it's very important for us to understand what is the meaning of a Hamsa. Hamsa in English translates to swan, the bird, the white bird. So why are these sannyasis referred to as Hamsas and Paramhamsas, and also people who are born in Krita Yuga, Satyuga, not Treta Yuga, Krita, Satyuga, they are referred to as Hamsas. Actually, Hamsas have the capability, swan, I'm talking of the bird swan, that if you mix milk and water, they can just take away the milk. They can just drink the milk while leaving the water behind. So the very meaning of Hamsa is coming from this particular concept, this very essence, that a Hamsa is a person who is able to remove the material aspects and only accept the spiritual aspects from anything that they interact with. So that's a Hamsa. And now Paramhamsa is again one who is more advanced, highly advanced, even among Hamsas. So again, there are different categories. And the category never finishes. Again, it is very important that even a Paramhamsa continues to make advancement in spiritual knowledge and in Krishna consciousness. So it's not that, one has reached the stage of a Paramhamsa and they have become perfect. Because that's not the attitude of a devotee. That's a material attitude at times, we'll see. That people say, I have become the president or CEO of a company, I'm the big boss here, and everyone listen to me. But that is not a spiritual, inclination. Rather, it changes to more humility. A person takes to more humble approach towards life and more humble approach towards interacting with others. So as advanced, one becomes more humble and more tolerant they become. Hare Krishna. So Devashi Narad is describing to Yudhishthira Maharaj the behavior of a sannyasi. Now, previously when he did chapter 12, he actually prayed to Lord Krishna to allow him to, narrate the 4 social classes as well as the 4 spiritual classes nicely, as he had heard from the mouth of Narayan. Now here also he is using as a reference. And it's very interesting that the first verse, he is using the word parivrajya. It's very important. And he's giving reference of someone else, while he himself happened to be a parivrajacharya. Right? And in a disciplic succession, we call our acharyas as parivrajakacharyas many times, right? Srila Prabhupada, we address him as parivrajacharya. So an acharya who doesn't have a home, who only spends a few days at a place and moves from place to place trying to preach people in Krishna consciousness. Now someone can say, how is Devashi Narad Parivrajacharya? Actually, he is our transcendental spaceman. He is traveling all over the universe. And he was specifically cursed by Daksha. When the second birth of Daksha happened as a Prajapati, and he satisfied Lord Vishnu, who appeared to him, on Garuna and blessed him. And when he had first 10,000 sons, and when they went on for meditation to acquire knowledge, Devashi Narad met them. And he said, actually, the purpose of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. And the path to back to Godhead is by taking to devotional service. So they took to his instructions and they engaged in devotional service and went back home, back to Godhead. Now Daksha was very upset. He had another 10,000 sons and he sent them again. And when Devashi Narad met these 10,000 sons of Daksha, he said, the duty of a younger brother is to follow the path of elder brothers. It was easy. And they took to devotional service and went back home. Now Daksha, his duty was to increase the progeny and to have the administration in the world. And his both attempts failed. So Devashi Narad at this particular point thought that Daksha may be more recipient to my instructions. So he visited Daksha. And Daksha actually blasphemed Devashi Narad on his face. He said that you are most fallen. And on top of that, he actually cursed Devashi Narad that you will not have a permanent home. You will be wandering. And Devashi Narad accepted it as a blessing. He accepted that. So it's very interesting that devotees, they take to that humble state that whatever has been, even a curse, they say, this must be Krishna's desire. And they just go with it. They go with the flow. He did not, counteract it with argument. And that's also a quality of a Paramahamsa, as we will see in this chapter. So Devashi Narad, when telling Yudhishthira Maharaj, the behavior of a perfect person is not giving his example. See the humility. He's giving an example of another personality. And he says to Yudhishthira Maharaj that once when Prahlad Maharaj, he was with his kingsmen, he was just going and trying to see the condition of his kingdom, he actually came across a person who had taken the lifestyle of a python. Now, you have to understand when this is said, who had taken the lifestyle of a python in the right context. Because there is a wrong context as well. Like there is a perverted reflection of similar principle in material world. And that was actually shared by Srila Prabhupada on a morning walk when he was going with his disciples, with the devotees. He said that actually, today's the financial organizations, they are like this python. They have taken to the lifestyle of a python. So first we have to understand what is the lifestyle of a python. A python is basically a mouse. Let's just take first example. A mouse first digs a hole, right? And after digging the hole, it's very tired and hungry. So it goes out to find food. And it searches for food and fills its belly. And mouse have another tendency. They try to put in their cheeks also. They try to store a lot of food. In the meantime, as they have gone out of the hole, a python would come and lay down inside the hole with its mouth facing and open, completely, its jaws open, and just goes to sleep like that. Mouse, very tired after, eating so much, comes rushing to sleep at its home. It comes, enters the jaw of the python, and the python closes its mouth. So, did python have to work for building a house? No. Similarly, when you think of banks, the financial organizations, they manage money. Whose money is that? People's money, right? For every dollar that they get the permission to lend 15 to 20 times, actually 20 to 25 times recently, of that money in loan to others, right? So what happens is, and that's granted to them by federal regulation. So they take money, keep them, and with that money, they have, the facility that they can grant so much more loan to people, to folks. And folks come and they take loan. They have kept their money already in the bank, and based on that money, they are taking loan. And when they get the loan, it's called mortgage, especially when you buy a house, it's called mortgage. Mort means till death. So they are engaged till death in serving the banks. And all the banks are doing is, they have a nice building, they are just staying there. People are giving money, people are giving their houses, putting as a liability, and taking money, which of course bank is giving because they have money from people, from the different folks who have deposited, and giving it back. So this is perverted reflection of the same lifestyle of a python. While the true reflection is a person, which is of course explained by Avadhuta Brahman himself. And who knows this Avadhuta Brahman is? Who this Avadhuta Brahman is? Lord Dattatreya. So once as Prahlad Maharaj, he was trying to see the condition of his kingdom and so forth, was traveling with his kingsmen. And he observed this person. And it is said that this person, this Brahman, was just carefree lying on the road. And when Prahlad Maharaj addressed, it reveals the condition of this Brahman. He said that, my dear sir, you look very stout, like the sage in India especially, we refer to them. They have a big belly and very, heavy set body and really big belly coming out. So actually, with that response, he is further saying, but you don't seem to be engaged in any activity to earn your livelihood. So definitely that shows us that he didn't just look at him and immediately made that observation and spoke about it. He observed him for quite some time. That this person, he has a really big stout body with big belly, but is not engaged in any activities. He's just resting carefree. And in the middle of the road. So if you don't think, so Prahlad Maharaj is, again, he's not challenging or he's not creating a mockery. He's actually saying that I don't see you engage in any activity. So if you don't think my question impudent, please respond. And at that time, the Avadhuta Brahman, he, understanding, Prahlad Maharaj's mood to sincerely ask, he's sincerely asking, what is my state? Avadhuta Brahman, Lord Dattatreya responds that this is a perfect question to be asked and I should respond to it accordingly. And he has said that I have taken the livelihood of a python, where I am not depending or engaged in any activities to earn my livelihood. Whatever is given to me, I take it and accept it as such. And my focus is on Krishna consciousness. To always preach others to be Krishna conscious. So sometimes food is thrown to me, which I accept. Food is nicely offered to me, which I accept, and sometimes I go hungry. Now, not just that, my clothes. Sometimes I'm not wearing any clothes, sometimes I'm wearing rags, or sometimes I'm nicely dressed like a king and, carried on an elephant. That's very opulent state. But he doesn't care, he's completely detached. I'm completely detached. Avadhuta Brahman is revealing to Prahlad Maharaj. Because my focus is only Krishna consciousness. My focus is only, to engage in the loving service of the Lord. And that is what I want everyone else to be engaged. Now this mood, when he says, is very pleasing to Prahlad Maharaj. Because when Lord Nrsimhadev asked him, what kind of benediction do you want? One of the aspects Prahlad Maharaj revealed was that I don't care about myself. But I care about, and this is Srila Prabhupada's verse, these fools and rascals, that I want them to become Krishna conscious and go back home, back to Godhead. So in this way, the conversation goes on. So, Prahlad Maharaj is hearing and it's music to his ears. And then Avadhuta Brahman reveals the regulative principles of sannyasi follows. So there are 8 of them I was able to find from this particular chapter that we'll be covering. And before covering that, it's very interesting to see how Srila Prabhupada, by his own example, showed that mood of vairagya. Anasaktasya vishayam yataram upayunjitah nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagam uchyate. So without, caring about any other aspects, one dovetails everything in Lord Krishna's service. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. So Vishakha Mataji discussed this incident in her book, 5 years and 11 months and lifetime of unconditional love. In the book, she is revealing that one day at Juhu, Srila Prabhupada asked Malati Mataji, where is my kurta? And she says, oh, it has been taken to the back of the temple for wash. And he says, can you get it? She immediately ran and got the kurta. And when she brought it running back to Srila Prabhupada put his hand in one of the pocket and took out 1 rupee. And Vishakha Mataji looked at that incident and she said, okay, I've done this. Sometimes we leave money in our pocket. But what shocked her was Srila Prabhupada's statement that followed this action of his. He said, I can spend millions for Krishna, but I cannot waste even 1 rupee for myself. That is Krishna consciousness. She understood that this is Krishna consciousness, that everything is dovetailed in Lord Krishna's service. And the verse, Anasaktasya Vishayam, Yatharam Upayunjita, reveals that. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha. So everything has to be dovetailed in Lord Krishna's service. That is Yukta Vairagya. That is the proper renunciation. So a renunciator, sannyasi, understand that core principle. And accordingly, there are 8 regulations. Now these regulations have to be understood in the right context. So let's go through one by one. So Avadhuta Brahman, as he is explaining, and of course he comes again, his description is in 11th canto, elaborately describing his various gurus, right? 21 or 24 of them. There are so many of those gurus are being described. We covered it earlier. So he's actually going to describe also another guru, and that's also very important before we come to the context of regulations that a sannyasi follows. Bumblebee. He said, one of my gurus is bumblebee. That has taught me only to take what is necessary to maintain the body for the existence. Not more. Should not hoard. Atyahara. Do not hoard too many things. So as a sannyasi, as a Paramahamsa, he is identifying. Now, contrast to bumblebee that goes to the flower to get the nectar, and then once satisfied, doesn't go trying to collect nectar. A contrast to bumblebee is honeybee. Honeybee, collects honey and creates a whole honeycomb, right? And what happens? Someone can come and easily take it away. So he's revealing that people who hoard like honeybee, someone can come, kill them, just like honeybees are killed, take away their possessions like thieves and rogues, a person in power with polluted mind. So many dangers are there. And it's of course not beneficial for Krishna consciousness and developing and advancing in Krishna consciousness. So he reveals that. And now the 8 regulations that a sannyasi follows are described as well. A sannyasi should travel alone in this way, not caring for life or death. Now, a sannyasi with the right context is never alone because he carries Krishna in his heart, right? So, but he does not care for his life or death. So he is fearless. That is the essence. That in his heart, he knows the goal of life. He has a very strong faith. And when we talked about the 4 spiritual classes, sannyas order comes as the highest. Right? So it's actually an ashram which has come with lot of, endurance of, developing Krishna consciousness has come to a very strong level. So of course we have those states where you start with Atha Shraddha, Tata Sadhu, Sangha, Bhajana Kriya and so forth. So they have come to a very advanced state. Nishtha and so forth, Asakti, Bhava and Prema. So those are the stages they are at. So he is fearless, that is the essence. Second one is, he should not indulge in unnecessary books and adopt professions like astrology. Right? So, why is that? Now somebody could say, Srila Prabhupada, he wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam, is so many books. But his purpose was to spread Krishna consciousness. He was not looking for his name, fame and glories. It was actually a lady, she asked him, a good translation on Bhagavad Gita. And when he looked at the different translations that were available at his time, he could not find one book that described Krishna's message as Krishna intended. So that's why when he translated Bhagavad Gita in English, he called it Bhagavad Gita as it is. As it is, it means the way Krishna intended. So that's the essence. And, of course, he did not look at it as a profession. He looked at it as a service. Because that was the instruction of his spiritual master. That you know how to speak in English, write in English, why don't you take this message to English people? And how do you take a message to English people? Do you take a message to English people in Sanskrit? Would they understand? No. So this is where all that, psychological research and so much of that stuff, it fails. They say that when you talk to a person, most of the information is conveyed through your tone, through your expressions, and instead of the language, what you are saying. And it has been proven recently as well, last 5 years, it is very well known in the industry that old theory of 65% expressed through expressions and your tone of voice versus 35% through the words, of 7% is actually through the words and remaining is through the context. Because if you place an Italian and a Chinese who do not know each other's language in a room, no matter how wonderfully they may be speaking, they won't be able to make any context out of their conversation because they do not know unless they express or understand through some sign language. So sign language does have some role, face-to-face conversation, but not completely reliable. So here, in this particular case, where the books have to be written. So Srila Prabhupada translated these books, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and many others in English so that English-speaking people can understand it. and that is to spread Krishna consciousness and not to seek the name, fame and glory. One of the stories that comes to our mind, and Srila Prabhupada shared, is how a Christian missionary preaches to a group of coal miners. So once there was this Christian missionary, he goes to the community of coal miners and he's preaching to them. He's telling them the description of hell. And he's describing that hell is humid, dark, hot. And the coal miners are like, okay, that's like the description of our coal mine. What's new about this? And so the Christian missionary, he's a little perplexed because he's not able to get his message across. And they're asking him, what is Christ's number? Because they cannot believe a person without a number. Every coal miner had a number. So they couldn't believe that Christ doesn't have a number. At that time, the preacher understood the context, understood the mindset of his audience. He said, and there are no newspapers in hell. And everybody said, oh, no newspapers, horrible. So Srila Prabhupada understood who the audience is and accordingly he preached based on time, place and circumstances. Samay Kal Patra. So it is very important to understand the context as why he was writing books. Because he was trying to spread Krishna consciousness. And also book distribution is called Brihad Mridanga. Brihad is big. Mridanga is, this is a simple Mridanga. But books and distributing books is called Brihad Mridanga because just by distributing books you can take the message of Lord Chaitanya to the very corners of all the countries and outside. But by playing Mridanga in this particular hall, you may not be able to get even across the neighborhood. So it's very interesting that books have played such an important part. And many people have taken to Krishna consciousness just by reading the books. So many people have taken. Now the third one is, nor should he try to become a great orator. So sometimes people are very much attached. Oh, he speaks so nicely. But you have to look at what is the philosophy. Srila Prabhupada always advised, you have to understand the philosophy of the person instead of understanding how big an orator they are or how well they speak. And also another aspect is, when you're looking at great orators, you also have to understand what is their behavior. In disciplic succession, the concept of acharya is there. Acharya means one who teaches by his example. They know how to walk their talk. One who teaches by his example. So that's also very important. Now, the fourth one is, he should also give up the path of unnecessary argument. So he should not engage in arguments that causes mental disturbance to him and to others. And in Bhagavad Gita, the 5th verse in 12th chapter also describes this mood. Yasmana dishte loko lokane dishte chaya haishamash bhayo dege mukta sangha chame priya. So, one who is not disturbed and who does not disturb others. This again comes back to the context. To understand the context of the recipient of your message. So he would take into the context of the recipient of the message. So it's very interesting how Srila Prabhupada would expertly handle different situations. And it so happened that at one place where Srila Prabhupada was invited to speak, right after him, there was a Mayavadi speaker. Right? He was about to speak. And Srila Prabhupada immediately signaled to the devotees that just chant, and they started doing kirtan. And this Mayavadi speaker, he never even got the chance to get onto the stage to speak. Because Srila Prabhupada did not want people to hear the message of Mayavad, of an impersonalist that will delineate and take them away from Lord Krishna. So his only goal is to bring everyone to Lord Krishna. Then, he should not try to allure people. This is the fifth one is, he should not depend on anyone under any circumstances. So, anyone means any other living entity, because he is constantly dependent on only one person. And who that person is? Krishna. And in Sharanagati, we hear that the 6 limbs of Sharanagati, one of them is understanding that Krishna is, your shelter. He is your protector. And constantly surrendering into the feet of Lord Krishna. So that is described. Also, the verse on Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Gyan Karmadya Navritam, right there, Anyabhilashita. It's not Anyabhilasha. Anyabhilasha is having no desire, no. It's called Anyabhilashita. So Anyabhilashita is also referred by Nand Maharaj when he was being engulfed by a big ajgar. What do we call ajgar? It's like anaconda snake. Yeah. So at that time he cried out Krishna's name. He said, "Oh Krishna, save me. I am surrendered to your lotus feet." And Lord Krishna saved him at that time. So a devotee is not Anyabhilasha. Again, he doesn't have like any desire. He has desire to serve Krishna and he looks for Krishna to protect him in all circumstances. So that is Anyabhilashita. Then sixth one is, he should not try to allure people into becoming his disciples just so that the number of his disciples may increase. A sannyasi does not go around asking people to become his follower. No. He wants them to become a follower, but not his, of Krishna's. So he wants to bring them close to Lord Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada in Srimad Bhagavatam reveals an amazing truth about a guru and disciple relationship. He clearly states that a guru never gets to go back to Vaikuntha or back to the spiritual world, back to home, back to Godhead, unless he has delivered each of his disciples. All of his disciples have to be delivered before the guru goes back home, back to Godhead. Now, can you imagine the risk? When you accept someone as your disciple, you are actually accepting that, yes, Krishna, I take the responsibility of delivering this person. And I would not be able to come back home because this is my first duty, to make sure that this person has gone back home, back to Godhead. Such a big challenge it is to be a sannyasi who is also initiating disciple. Seventh is, he should give up the habit of reading many books as a means of livelihood. So again, sometimes people may be great readers and they keep reading one book after another. And it was so interesting that Radhikaraman Prabhu, some years back, when he was addressing this particular topic, he said, when can you finish reading? It's again, you can never finish. There is always some other literature that's there. What is the use of the literature or of reading the literature if you cannot follow the instructions? So understand that the basic, the foundation for our Krishna consciousness is coming through the parampara system and through Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and focus on taking those principles laid down and try to practice them. And then Srila Prabhupada said that, understand and your realizations you should write about. Because by writing realizations, and Vishaka Mataji she reveals in a book as well, they will be able to proceed further. And then the eighth one is, one should not attempt to increase the number of temples or mathas or monasteries. A sannyasi can preach anywhere, even under a tree. It is for the grahasthas and other, social classes that the temples are built, so that people can come and learn about Krishna consciousness, have an environment to develop Krishna consciousness and advance accordingly. Hare Krishna. So, and then when they come together, the foundation is based from Sankirtan Yajna, where we ask for devotion service by raising our hand and saying, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So in this chapter, we learn how a perfect person behaves, and how a Paramhamsa is described by Avadut Brahman to Prahlad Maharaj, carries out their livelihood in just serving Krishna. And one of the important aspects is actually sannyasis consider every living entity as their friend and continues to serve Krishna and bring everyone back to Krishna's lotus feet. So this was the essence we learned. And of course, it does start with brahmacharya, and different stages. When brahmacharya is where it is identified that one should accept a guru in disciplic succession, a bona fide guru, so they can advance in their Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu? Mm-hmm. Yes. 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 Mm-hmm. Yes. Paramhamsa. Right. Paramhamsa actually, Hamsa is who left the water away. But then Paramhamsa says, even that is Krishna's. He knows how to dovetail that material energy into Krishna's service. He goes beyond. He says everything is Krishna's energy. And I should not distinguish between Shaktiman and Shakti, energetic and the energy. And even though there is this water that's there, even that is provided by Krishna and has a specific purpose. Srila Prabhupada once walking at Mayapur, he asked the gardener, what plant is that? He saw a small plant growing. So he said, oh, this is useless. Actually, it was growing near the bank of Ganges. He said, no, everything has use. You just don't know it. So while a Hamsa only focuses on the spiritual aspect and may leave, the material aspects behind, Paramahamsa even knows how to engage that material energy into Krishna's service. Does that answer your question? Hare Krishna. Gantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Go Premanande. Hari Hari.